Welcome to the fourth installment, perhaps one too many of the classes here in Big Indian. I will say that the difficulty of sustaining the effort for four classes in a row is real, and the value is real. And the effort is not like, the effort is very different than that. The effort is very simple. It's very quiet. It's very easy. Just show up, be present, and try to allow the energy to offer you its power and its strength so that it's not you trying. It will make itself known. It will take care of you. I know that. It's the way it works. Um, thank you for coming. Those of you who are back again, thank you. Thank you to all of you who are here. Uh, I think you've heard me say this a few thousand times, but the energy arrives because of you, period. It's here because you're here. And the same with you guys. So thank you for showing up. And this will be available, uh, online, thanks to Arcadi. And we will make this uh, available for people who couldn't make the physical effort to be here. The energy, strangely, in ways I don't understand, survives on YouTube and on video. So it's always there. There are now 600 plus recordings. So you find this one doesn't interest you, go back in the files, you'll find something that might. And if you don't, God bless, there's a direct line and you can go right to that. Thank you all for being here. Um, I'm just grateful. But I think I'd like to talk a little bit about the word legacy. If you look at the paintings behind me, Padmasambhava above me, there's a legacy of extraordinary teaching that belongs to this practice. I somehow always thought that Rudy would be running the show and legacy would be a natural flow from his being. He did not tell us he was going to die in an airplane crash at the age of 45. There were people he had made teachers who continued to teach, and I studied with a number of them. The legacy seems to be in many ways filtered through the personalities and the qualities of the people who take it on. So where is the purity of legacy? I really don't know. It's all stories in a way. It's all channeled directives. Nothing in me ever imagined, ever, that I would be sitting here as part of a legacy. Truly not in the cards. And now I feel totally inappropriate to find a way to keep this legacy going. I don't know who you appoint, who you say, do this, you do that, do it that way, do it this way. And in a way, I don't think I have to, because it knows what it's doing. Rudy once said that when he passed away, any of his students could continue teaching. And I think that's a fairly remarkable gift and statement. And of course, not everybody took on the challenge of that. And I wasn't sure I was going to be doing that either, really. And what happened was, you all know the story. I was walking with then Michael Shoemaker down the streets of Bloomington, Indiana, and asking him if I could teach with the specific understanding that I was going to be told no and why. And that for me was very valuable. I needed to know what was I doing wrong? What do you have to do to be a teacher? And the story goes, he said, sure. I went, okay. And I said, when do I, when do you teach me how to teach? And he just said, basically, just start tonight. And I went, but, and I sat down. And I may have shared this with you just in the last few days, but what I'm trying to get at is there was no teaching to be a teacher. There was just practicing and being one, a good student, hopefully a good student, maybe one who wanted to know how to be a better student. And then you sit down in front of a group of people who need a person to take that space and to open and fill the emptiness that they make possible with joy and beauty and whatever else and love. And I remember that very night sitting down somewhat nervously and sitting in front of this big room full of people in the ashram in Bloomington. And I didn't even have to think about or figure out in any way what to do. It simply happened. Basically, I loved the people in front of me, and it wasn't Bruce loving them. It just went, and I sat there in a kind of amazement. I had never been trained, I'd never been tutored, I hadn't taken a 4-year course in how to teach, I hadn't paid $1,000 to be made a teacher. All I did was ask why could I teach it, to be told I'd not, and then to be told yes, which is amazing. And then this happened. And so here we are, 40 some years later, and this person who was not meant or born to be a teacher, as far as I can tell, is sitting here behaving as one, allowing something to happen that actually I feel, just like I did in the very first class, is an absolute transmission of something that has nothing to do with me. And whatever this thing is that's being transmitted into the world can be done, obviously, in a classroom situation, I guess now in a Zoom situation, and it works. Why it works on Zoom, I have no idea, but I understand this one. I understand why it works. Two people together, four people, 100 people sitting together, opening their hearts together, something happens. And it's beyond them. It is a transcendent energy that comes and feeds people for reasons unknown. The only reason I can imagine is that it loves you, that it loves you deeply. And it is probably loving me as well. And I am able to taste and experience the flow of this love as it goes out into the world. But now, because my journey is coming to, it feels like some kind of end, I mean, I don't know the how or when of it, but what now? What is next? How does this get carried forward? I really don't have an answer for that. But I will tell you two things. Everyone in this room has a availability and a capacity to share this, whether it's with a room full of people, which is something you can, I guess, choose to do, or whether it's with the person you share your life with, or with somebody you're with in the store. It doesn't have to always be Zoom eye contact. It can really be a smile. It can be a touch. It can be a greeting. There are very, very many ways to transmit this energy. And you don't have to save the world. The dialogue that we hear is to save one person, is to save the world. How do you save someone? Well, it's with an ongoing flow of this energy in a way uninterrupted by your problems and needs, meaning that it keeps working. You keep going to it over and over and over. And if you get obstructed and you start having problems and it's difficult, go harder, go deeper, fight for this thing and make it happen. Legacy, if it happens at all with this particular work, will be because of you, some of the people who aren't here, people who are listening and not listening, will take up the call. You can talk to me while you're still here and I'm still here, and we can talk about it. I have sometimes people who want to teach where I go, hmm, not the mere wanting to teach sometimes is a problem, you know, and I see it, and I see it very quickly, and then it's tricky. But there are also people who don't want to teach who should be teaching, who should be out there doing it, and who need to feel in some way the calling of allowing this thing to be transmitted to others. You may already know who you are. And a lot of you, almost all of you, maybe all of you are sitting in front of me right now. I don't see anybody who shouldn't be out there, and even new people. And it's really, really interesting that saving one person is really, really meaningful. It's worth the effort. Helping people, saving is a bad word because it's gives you heroism, and heroism, an inflationary quality. Saving someone is quiet, simple, gentle. You simply are there and you touch someone in the right way at the right moment, and it changes everything. And I've told you stories, and I won't repeat them all now, but there are ways that I have affected people that I had no idea. And a good way is making movies. If you make movies and 100, 200 million people see it, somebody may get an effect from it and a communication. I think I've shared that I've made movies that have had multi-millions of people watching, hundreds, and I guess millions, and I meet very few of them, which is really interesting. The universe has been very, very conscious about not giving me an ego that I have to break down. If someone comes up to me and says, I saw your movie 30 years ago or 20 years ago and it had some effect on me, that's a joy. It's a joy. But they don't line up to do that, nor am I asking anyone to do that. What I'm realizing is that things you put out into the universe, and it doesn't have to be a movie. It can be anything. It could be a poem. It could be a painting. It could be something you say to somebody at the right moment. It transmits this thing, and it may just alter their life. It may do that. The legacy of Big Indian, as you all heard in the end of the last class, uh, is expensive. It's a hard one to sustain in terms of not just the energy, but this physical space of it. And I will repeat what we said earlier in the class, late in the last class, was this is an amazing place. This is a special place. And as I said, Rudy knew it the minute he got out of the car. I happened to be in the car behind him, so I saw him get out of the car and I saw him react. And I have never, it was like he knew, he knew. And then I guess I knew, but I was traumatized by the whole thing. It was just way like, oh my God, what a mess. How are we going to work with this place, But work was the idea. Work was the idea. And Rudy put us to work. And those of us who were kids who never did work learned a lot of amazing lessons. And this place emerged. It is not 100% available to the public anymore because it got old and could not be sustained. But a big part of legacy is to find a way forward with all of this. So if any of you have 7 or 8 or $10 million lying around and you want to make a donation to an amazing space, call Daniel and he will take the donation graciously, and we will rebuild the former hotel, then class, it was not a classroom, but it was a space for Rudy to live and all of us to live and dine. And Muktananda stayed there, so it had some saintly sort of presence. And Nityananda, Rudy's teacher, who is sitting right over there, right here, Nityananda has been in this space and in statue form and in energy form. This is the most amazing place, and it is not secure. Now, none of us are secure. Life is not secure. Places certainly have nothing about them that will last forever. But if we could go another 20, 30, 40, I don't know, years, if we could make this into a spiritual garden or a spiritual center, as Rudy wanted, a place of spiritual creativity, which is something Daniel has talked about quite a bit, uh, this could be an amazing arena. And it could be an amazing arena because it is a space of energy, primordial, primitive energy that is rare on the planet. And like I've said in my travels, I've been to a few places that had it. The London, what's it called? The Tor? The Glastonbury Tor. King Arthur. Why that had it, I have no idea, but Rudy said it once to me that it had it. Blanche and I went years later, and I went, oh, wow. And then we went to Egypt and to the pyramids, and they did not have it, which was really like, wow, 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 that should have it. You come to Big Indian, and it has it. It has it. Why? I mean, why ask questions like that? I can only say, as long as we can gather in a place like this and continue this, it will be very meaningful. I am watching my own aging process, and I don't know whether or not I can be the person sitting in this chair, and would love to have others begin to feel, move quietly, whatever way they have, into a kind of knowing that they could fill the space. I guess I could appoint people. Rudy did, and it was not always a successful thing. I'm not going to name names, but there are people who did not carry this tradition on as well as I think might have been wanted, and there are people who have embodied it. What I'm saying, and I'm just saying that we are very lucky human beings. You are lucky to be sitting in a space that has this energy. And I'm not just talking, the teaching energy. I'm talking the earth power energy that Rudy knew about, the energy that caused it to rain 3 times on a puja that was being prepared for a spiritual offering to the universe. It supported it in ways that were considered to be ancient and traditional, where if it rained 3 times on a puja, it was truly blessed. It rained 3 times on the puja here, and it was for me, disturbing event because I was getting wet. But for real people who had a sense of this, it was like a true, true blessing. So what I'm saying is, I don't know how many more of these retreats I can do. I will if I'm available and can. But I want you to all be tuned in to the inner voice and to what you can do to bring this kind of knowing into conscious form for others, whether it be masses of people or whether it be 2 or 3, one. Or even if it's just for yourself and you walk through the streets and you spread light. But legacy is somewhat meaningful, and I'm hoping and praying that it will continue. Now that depends on a lot of things, like the world continuing, which we are all thinking will happen and hoping will happen. But we're in a very complicated moment, and so it's a moment of uncertainty on every level, and you all know that. You all, I think, probably feel it. There's a lot going on here. Wasn't really going to go into this, but I'll do it quickly. This movie that I was asked to write about 7 months ago, uh, which had at its core um, a woman in her 40s, 30s, maybe a little younger, looking out a window, her first psychic experience ever, and seeing a nuclear holocaust outside her window. And then being told that in the year 2025, interestingly, the year we're in, this war would be ignited, and not necessarily the full version of it, but the beginning of it would happen in 2025 in a war between Israel and Iran, which 3 days ago happened. The very middle of 2025, like to the day. Um, that's interesting. As you know from the story, she wrote a book about it and tried to get a movie made, but it didn't work. And then had a uh, contact with the other side, which was now her calling. And it said, you've got to get the movie made and you need to get the writer of Ghost, and he will save the world. So she reached out to me and said, I told me everything I just told you. And we were still in a different administration. We were in a different world. There was a lot of hope that things might not go quite with the way they went. And I went, oh, what's the movie? I read her book. I went, there's no movie here. I said, the movie, if there is one, is about a writer who's told out of the blue that he has 6 months, 6 months to write a movie to save the world. She said, yep, yep. And then we decided that we would dialogue about this and record it and maybe turn it into like a documentary for the BBC or something, because she's from London. There were very big people involved, and I hesitate to name them on camera here, but so I won't. But they are top studio heads, big people that want this movie made, interestingly enough, who have had experiences with this woman as a psychic that have all been true. One man, very important figure, was told by her that he should go to a doctor the next day because he's going to die if he doesn't. And he did, and found out he had cancer. And he would not have known if she hadn't told him. So she has authority in a way in this area. So she and I decided we would try to make this a documentary. And then she was in the middle of having some. Do you remember, Glenn, what she had? I forget what it's called. Shingles, and discovered it wasn't shingles; it was cancer, and she died 3 weeks ago. So we don't have a documentary, and I thought, well, Denise is no longer in the world. Maybe her husband and her son and the various other people we're talking about would be open and willing to kind of backing away from the intensity of the demand that I was feeling. And I've talked to every one of them in the last several weeks, and they are as intense as ever. You have to do this, and you got to do it quick. And I have no idea quite how to do this, although I'm waiting for the inspiration to come through. I talk about this and I share it because it's such a weird thing to be sitting in this chair as a disciple of Rudy and being told that now it's my job, and therefore, in some way, a job that has something to do with this practice to save the world. So here's another tiny little incremental thing that 3 weeks ago, I decided to send a portrait, a photograph of a painting that I have in my house of Swami Nityananda to her, to not her being one of the women in charge of this whole project. The woman who is a disciple of Muktananda, perhaps, feeling like a stepdaughter, or I don't know what the word would be, part of his lineage, but also part of Nityananda. And I sent this photograph of the painting to her. Within 2 minutes of putting it in the email, I get a call. And she said, you won't believe this, but I sent you a photograph of Nityananda. I just got back from the post office. And so these two things happened. And then this photograph came. It's an amazing photograph of this amazing being. I put it in my office where I would probably be writing this movie. And I put it in the right side of the wall of the window, and it didn't feel right. So I put it on the other side next to what is a photograph that my friend Barry Kaplan took. Barry Kaplan forgive me, it was the person who gave me LSD in in the 1960s that completely changed my life. And he became one of the great students of Rudy, who took all the famous pictures of Rudy. So we gave each other something in life. But he took this picture of me when I was at NYU, looking out of a window, imagining a future I could not imagine. And suddenly, Nityananda is sitting right behind that. And the two of us are looking out the window together. And I have never felt more directed, in a way, to saving the world without any idea of how to do it, except hope that in the way other things have come to me, inspiration comes. I tell you this because something's going on in the world right now, and we are all here assembled in a space where Nityananda is part of the journey. I am, for some reason, part of the journey. We are all, for some reason, part of the journey, and our need and our objective is to create something that will allow legacy to flower and the world to continue, and for us to help save it. Whether we save it through teaching, a movie, a kindness in the elevator with somebody, maybe it won't matter. Whether we save it or not may not matter. But all I can tell you is this moment is impregnated by the powers that emanate through this space. And trust me, Nityananda is a source that is beyond our understanding. And Rudy received from Nityananda a level of teaching and energy that is beyond our understanding. It has flown through me, which is completely beyond my understanding, and it flows because of something that none of us will ever comprehend, but it's at work right now. If this movie gets made, one thing that Denise and I agreed upon is it would no longer save the world. She was looking at a moment in time where there was a movie on television by a guy named Nick Myers, who it was called The Day After, and The Day After film was a film of the nuclear holocaust that began because of the Berlin Wall between Russia and Germany. And it took place in Kansas City, which was unfortunately a missile silo ground for lots of missiles to go off into Europe. And this war started, and they flew off, and everybody in Kansas City and all around Kansas City were attacked by nuclear weapons. And you saw it in the movie. 100 million people watched this television show. No event on television when we used to have only three channels, ABC, NBC, CBS. It had such worldwide impact. And Denise said to me, that's what we need to do. But we now have hundreds of channels. And in those days, Reagan was president and Gorbachev was the head of Russia. And they got together and saw the numbers and they said, we got to do something. And they reduced the nuclear stockpile because of a movie. We now have Trump and Putin and Netanyahu, et cetera, in power. I don't think a movie is going to change that. I don't think a movie necessarily can get that kind of traction unless can become an event of some kind. But I will tell you, the thing that Denise and I both came to when we understood we probably won't be able to save the world, we were going to have at the very end of our documentary for the BBC, the understanding, save one person, you save the world. And if this movie ever does get made, the last shot in my mind is Julia Roberts going, save someone. I don't know if that will happen. I don't know. But I can tell you, we are sitting in a space where the directives for that are pouring through. Of course, I seem to be a recipient, but I am sharing it with you because the obligation to save the world is not really mine. It's really not mine. It's yours. And it really is save someone. That's really what it is. If this movie ever gets made, that would be amazing, really amazing. If it's made in a timely enough fashion that it implants itself into the consciousness of people in the world, that would be amazing. If people come away from it thinking we want love and peace, not destruction, and they can voice it enough that it changes the atmosphere of human life, that would be amazing. And it would be an extraordinary legacy for Nityananda, for Rudy, for the person sitting here, and everyone in this class. That would be really remarkable. So I am giving you the same thing I've been given: save the world. Save the world, create the legacy, keep this space alive. May it continue to go for eons of time, and may the energy and the raw power of this amazing space of Big Indian, New York. Why Big Indian, New York? It's here, guys. It is here. Anyone who's in the viewing audience on Zoom, whoever wants to try to make the trip, if you ever walk on these grounds, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's here. It's available. It comes through the screen, so you don't have to all get on an airplane, but I will tell you that it's amazing to touch it and walk through it and be in it. It's amazing to walk up to Rudy's shrine and feel the presence of a spiritual, vibrant energy coming out of a statue of Rudy, but it does. And we're all here able to have that because this place exists. So I'm asking, again, if you have any friends with $10 million they don't know what to do with, tell them we have a great, great place that they can invest in, and it will change and save the world. So that's a weird talk, and I know it's I know it's a weird talk, and I had no idea how to do this one. And all I can say is, if I've offended you and made you crazy, my apologies. But there is some seriousness to this idea that there's work to be done, there's a world to be saved. This is a place that somehow expresses that in time and space. Help whatever way you can. Okay. Any comments, criticisms, questions? Or was that enough? Intuitive, yes. My mudra work is entirely intuitive. I have never been taught mudra work. It started happening about 3 years ago. I don't understand it, but I feel it and I know it works because I feel when if Beethoven creates a chord and the whole audience goes like that, you know, something he did worked. This is chords progressing along and symphonic route, actually. It's kind of amazing. And each person, there's a moment where they have it. And I know they have it. And if they don't have it, I know they will, because I know how it's planted. And it will do its little beautiful note thing, and everybody will benefit from that. Whoever asked how the movie ends, I don't know, other than I think save someone. But if it has another ending, I'll let you know. The objective of all of this really is I'm blindsided by it, so I have no idea what to say or how this works out. I have no idea whatsoever. Sharing it seems foolish on one level, and yet it wants to be said. So that's all I can tell you, and go from there. Okay. George is saying I should announce that I teach in-person classes in my home in Red Hook, New York, every 2 weeks. And anyone who would like to be on the mailing list or to come and do it, we can take care of that on Zoom. There's an introductory class to the process, to the practice that we have that is on Zoom. And anyone is interested in that, they're welcome to come and do it. I wanted more of a flourish here, but it's going to be more of a little da-da-da. Nope. And I thank you all. I thank you all for making this effort. It's been extraordinary to have so much love. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks anyone who is actually listening to this whole class and this talk. There's something to be said for communion, connection, input, guidance, direction that has been at the core of this teaching. It's in the talks that have been given this weekend. And so if you are able to listen to any of them, I think you will find that they may speak to you. If you want more from this, you're all welcome to it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Love to everybody.